Hey everybody, Norm from Tested here.
And Kate from Tested.
Welcome back to Model Behavior, where today we're going to be exploring some more weather effects. Now we've done some ocean water in the past with waves, we've done some water vapor with out of a rocket engine, and today we're going to go with snow.
Yeah, frozen water.
Frozen water. And it's something that you as a model maker have worked before on projects small and projects big, because you worked on the big fortress from Inception.
Yeah, I spent a lot of hours up in an aerial lift pouring salt and white flocking all over a mountaintop, so that was a lot of fun.
So it sounds like there are a lot of different ways to emulate the look of snow in a model making project, especially since things that you want to last and be draped over environments, creatures, characters. Can you walk through some of the ways?
Yeah, one of the standard things that a lot of people use is just plain flocking. That is any kind of a white powder that you can dust onto something. Usually you'll try and adhere it if you can, possibly seal it, that way it doesn't end up in the air. I know some people like to go with a cheaper route, like possibly a baby powder. I can definitely caution you against going with something like a baking soda. I've heard many tales of people saying, oh, it looked great, and then a year later, why is my model melting? And it actually is having a chemical reaction. So it might work good for like a short-term situation, but maybe avoid it on your precious models. Some other options include if you want to have some big lumps of, a little bit more solid piece, you can use a liquid snow that you pour in and get your mounds going there. So I think we're going to try a few different approaches today.
Awesome. And our subject today, well, they're of course past model making projects. We gotta make more use of them. We have a little mech here that we built a couple weeks ago. This is from Machination Studio. It's a garage kit. We did a little bit of airbrushing, weathering, and I think it's right for as a tank to be walking through the snow.
Definitely.
And the surface it's going to be walking on is this surface. This is a model making base. Chuck over at EA Monsters sent this over, but it's just a generic base. It can be ocean floor, it can be a alien environment. For us, we spray painted it black with some brown, so almost like lava encrusted floor. That now we're gonna have snow over. So we're gonna be able to dress this. But where do you wanna start? You wanna start with the base?
Sure, I think probably a good technique might be get our mech placed and then we can dress around it.
Right, because the story would be that it would be in the environment. You wanna do it together. Okay, it makes a lot of sense.
All right, our first step is going to make some liquid snow. So we're going to start with some white glue or PVA glue, whatever you have lying around, and we're going to mix it with some white acrylic and maybe a little bit of baking soda. I've heard that this works really well before. I'm not entirely sure the purpose of it, but why not? Let's go for it. It'll add a little grit and some white. And it's gonna be hard, obviously, to tell if they're mixed thoroughly since it's all white, but I would say give it a lot of good stirs. Make sure to scrape the edges and the bottom so you don't end up with some bits of snow that are translucent. All right, we have our liquid snow mixed up. I would say the best technique to get started, find some spots in the terrain where you're not going to miss those dips and valleys. And I'm just going to scoop it up with my stir stick and kind of drop it right in. You can always push it around if you need to move it. And something that is really nice about this material is that it's almost like self-leveling and smoothing, so you don't have to worry about brush marks or lines that you leave behind.
It's interesting because when we think of applying snow, I think of using a powder, but we're using a paste here because you're building it from the ground up. The powder is the last. This is the snow that's been frozen or melted.
Well, and I think that a lot of times when you use something like a powder, you're looking at it as a dusting of snow. But what about a place that has a really deep snow pack? It's going to be hard to build that up just in powder form. Something else that's really neat about using this kind of snow is that as you spread it out over the craggly surface, it starts to speckle as it touches some of the tops there, and that really gives sort of an authentic feeling. You know, that's where the snow has touched and built up, whereas other spots might have melted out with the warmth of the earth.
already, Kate, a transformation.
Yes.
And as we're doing it, we're coming to the realization of what story we're telling here. That if we left it like this, it would be as if it snowed and then it kind of melted and evaporated.
Yeah.
And where would it evaporate first? Well, those high spots, and that's why we left those kind of blank. And then it looks like it's kind of just like had a snowstorm in the past week.
Yeah. Another thing that I like to keep in mind is if our next step is going to be a dusting of powdering, is what spots would that powder have a harder time reaching? So knowing that it's going to automatically hit the peaks first, I wanted to make sure to get in those nooks and crannies and valleys and get the liquid in there.
So it's almost like if you're painting, the equivalent of a wash,
Yes.
except a wash of snow or glue in this case. All right, we gotta let this dry for a little bit. How long should we let this dry and what's our next step?
You know, you got to think of it as a clump of paint and a clump of glue. It could be, over an hour. I'm going to take a hairdryer to it and see if I can't speed up this process, and we'll see how long it takes. I like to try and keep it as far away from the model as possible so I'm not too close pushing the liquid around.
We've dried our glue, paint, baking soda paste mix, and it is different.
Yeah. I loved sitting there with the hairdryer. You could really see it transform. It went from glossy to matte. You could see some texture come out.
It really looks like dried melted snow now. Because also there's like a chalkiness to it almost. I don't know if is that the baking soda perhaps?
I think it is. Doesn't it feel like you could just walk through it and leave a crunching sound?
Totally. Now it's not completely dry yet because what's also cool is as some of this pulled up, we can also leave depressions into it.
Yes.
Which makes sense if we're gonna have this guy walk through the snow. So even if we lightly press onto that glue, you can see we're already leaving some nice snow prints on there. And that's something if we wanted to go back and clump it up more. It's not gonna get sticky to the bottom of this. It really just is almost sculpting it.
Yeah, I like that.
What's our next step?
Now, I would say if we're ready to start powdering, we will take a clear coat spray. This one is a matte finish because I didn't want to add too much gloss to it here. And I think our next step is going to be we will dust with the clear coat and then dust the powder over it. And the clear coat will act as an adhesive to hold on to it. And I think that we're just going to keep repeating those two steps over and over until we have a consistency we like.
And so you're talking about really layering on snow.
Yes.
Don't do it all at once.
No.
You really want to have the snow stick to each of the layers.
Yeah, you have to think of it as this is the only way the powder is going to not blow away is if it is being grabbed. So it can only go one layer at a time because as soon as you've coated the bottom and it's got nothing to stick to, it's just gonna blow right off.
All right, clear coat time. Clear coat's about to go on. We got respirators because some of the particulates can be pretty fine. We'll start with the base first, and our snow today is gonna be baby powder, which will go on sprinkled right after the clear coat goes on.
Yep.
All right.
And then the spots where it clumped up, if we don't want that, we can try to come in here and break it up a little bit. I'm gonna try and go heavy and then brush it.
Smooth it out.
Just look out for any of the wet clumps still.
I think you definitely want to surface some of that dark color,
Yeah.
the high points. The baby powder did a lot.
It did, and I experimented with a few different ways of applying it. First, it was straight out of the bottle. Another was putting it in my hand first. Another was putting it in like some cheesecloth. Just trying to see which way we liked applying it. But I think the thing that worked ultimately the best was us going in with our brushes and really pushing it around that way.
And pushing it around to reveal more of the rock, to even out those clumpy spots. I like the look of having more rock shown. I think it tells a story that this is a windier area, that the high points are being blown, the snow's being blown off there, as opposed to just settling in. And we're in a place we're pretty happy with the base. Don't take away from the sculpture of the display. And now we're going to move on to the figurine, the tank here. So, is it the same process?
Yeah, I mean, I think on this one, since there are multiple sides and because we want to act sort of quickly with the spray, I would say maybe pick a side, spray that side, just put all your attention on that side, and then once you're happy with it, move to the next one. Go one at a time instead of trying to rush and try and get it all looking right.
And there are so many high points here that we want to tell the story of the snow settling. Like one of the really nice things is we have this almost graded platform in the back, and everyone can visualize what snow looks like built up around there.
Yeah.
And where someone might be standing, so we can push that around. So this is where it can get really fun. All right, so mask back on and to the clear coat. A little bit goes such a long way. We're discovering all different ways to apply and move that baby powder around, from using a piece of cloth to almost be like a Fuller's earth bag, to using even camera cleaning equipment to blow off some of that snow very precisely so you don't have to blow it off yourself. And what Kayte's doing right now is a final touch. What is this?
So this is simply just a clear gloss spray paint that I put in a little cup. And I'm going around, and anywhere that would have been putting out heat, say your exhaust pipes, around the engine, that would be melting any of the built up snow or ice. So it would have a glossy look like it is wet. So I'm just putting in some gloss here or there so you could tell that this guy is making power, making heat.
Yep, the vents, some of the exposed pipe. A model like this is really perfectly suited for snow because there are things like rivets and divots and extended, turrets and feet. And lots of places just catch all that powder. It is such a fun process that's not too difficult at all, and combined with a base, you can just really tell a story, a diorama.
Well, and if you look at all of the materials that we've used today, it's been white glue, acrylic paint, baby powder, and some clear spray paints. Those are things that you probably already have at your house.
Yeah, so have fun with making snow effects. We'd love again to see your own projects, whether you've snow effects, other weather effects, and we're going to continue working on this guy.